My boyfriend Leo had given me a doll meant to steal my luck so he could pursue the most popular girl on campus. Everything I had dedicated my life to, every success I had earned through sheer effort was siphoned away and handed to her. Without so much as lifting a finger, Sophia transformed from an unremarkable student into a top academic, securing a place in a prestigious graduate program. Her family, once ordinary, suddenly struck it rich. She had everything: a flourishing career and a blossoming love life. In stark contrast, my own life fell apart. Despite studying until I was physically ill, my grades plummeted. My family's business declared bankruptcy. Before long, worn down by the constant stress and exhaustion, I collapsed and died. I opened my eyes and found myself back on the day Leo gave me that cursed doll. He was smiling, holding the box out to me. "Alara," he said, his voice smooth and earnest, "we're going to get married and have a family one day. Think of this doll as our first child, our daughter. You have to take very good care of her, okay?" "Take good care of it," he'd said, so it could drain away every last drop of my good fortune. In a memory that felt as real as the present, I saw myself taking a pair of scissors, snipping off the doll's leg and kicking it into a foul-smelling ditch. A daughter? What a joke. This time, I was the one in control. "Alara, look, I managed to get this limited edition doll for you. It's the only one in the world. It cost me tens of thousands." That familiar voice, the one I had grown to associate with betrayal and pain, echoed in my ears. As my senses returned, I was staring at Leo's face, a face I now despised with every fiber of my being. When my eyes landed on the doll in his hands, an involuntary tremor ran through me, and my fists clenched at my sides. In my previous life, that very doll, that seemingly innocent toy, had been the instrument of my family's complete and utter destruction. Seeing it again ignited a cold fire within me. All I wanted was to burn it to ashes. Noticing my muted reaction, Leo's smile faltered, a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. He asked, his voice laced with a tentative concern, "Alara, what's wrong? Don't you like the doll I bought for you?" He even managed to look hurt, a wounded expression clouding his features. I snapped back to the present, forcing my hands to remain steady as I reached out and took the doll from his arms. I held it up, examining it closely. I squished its cherubic plastic face and pinched its soft arms, my touch rougher than I intended. "What is this thing? This cost tens of thousands? Leo, are you sure you didn't get scammed?" He wasn't even listening to my words. His attention was completely fixated on the doll cradled in my hands. He reached out as if to snatch it back, his eyes filled with a strange anxiety. His tone was sharp, almost a scolding. "Hey, Alara, be careful. Don't you hurt her." He was so tense, you would think I was holding a living, breathing person, not a simple doll, a person. My gaze sharpened, focusing on the doll's features. It bore an uncanny 80% resemblance to Sophia, the campus beauty. If I hadn't lived through the horror of my past life, if I hadn't known this was her effigy, I would never have believed such an object could orchestrate the ruin of my entire family. I stared down at the doll and then looked back at Leo, my expression turning stern. "What's that supposed to mean? It's a doll. How could I possibly hurt it? Why do you seem so anxious about this thing?" His reaction to my question was a guilty blink. He quickly took my hand, his expression shifting to one of fawning affection. "My dearest Alara, I'm not worried about the doll itself. I'm worried that if it gets damaged, it would be such a waste, you know? After all, it's the only one of its kind in the entire world." Listening to his explanation, I could only laugh silently to myself. If my soul hadn't lingered, watching the two of them after my death, I never would have uncovered their disgusting parasitic scheme. The better I treated this doll, the luckier Sophia became, and the more tragic my family's fate grew. Conversely, any harm that came to the doll would be reflected in Sophia's life. In my past life, Leo had tricked me with sweet words. "Alara, we're going to build a family and have children one day. Let's pretend this doll is our first child so we can practice for when we have our own." At the time, I had been so blissfully naive, thrilled by the thought that he wanted to spend his life with me. I did exactly as he wished. I carried that doll everywhere, never letting it out of my sight, truly treating it as if it were my own daughter. I bought it beautiful clothes, delicate accessories, and even a tiny gold locket. But the more I spent, the more I cherished it, the worse my family's luck became. My family went bankrupt, my brother took his own life, my parents died in a horrific car crash, and I, in my despair, leaped from the roof of a tall building. Since fate has granted me this second chance, I will most certainly take good care of this doll. I'll make sure the two of them get a taste of what it feels like to lose absolutely everything. He had called it a global limited edition, and in a twisted way, he was right. A doll that was an 80% match for Sophia, complete with her birth date and time secretly stitched into the fabric on its back, was certainly one of a kind. I composed my features, forcing a deeply moved expression onto my face. Honey, you're so good to me. Tens of thousands of dollars, and you just bought it for me like it was nothing. Leo, completely shameless, accepted the praise. It's nothing, really, as long as it's something you want, Alara. I'll do whatever it takes to get it for you. I sneered internally. He wanted me dead, yet he had to perform this elaborate charade of deep affection. He despised me, yet for Sophia's sake, he had to play this role. This play had been running for 3 years. Leo and I met in a club 3 years ago. I was having a terrible day and wasn't paying attention to my surroundings when a minor, embarrassing incident occurred. He discreetly helped me, lending me his jacket. One thing led to another, and we started dating. Since both of our families were in business, with mine being the larger enterprise, our families had engaged in some dealings over the years. I always believed he was good to me because he loved me. In reality, he was just methodically building my trust, all for this single moment, the day he would give me Sophia's effigy. Speaking of Sophia, I had barely interacted with her in my past life. I knew she was considered beautiful, but that was the extent of my knowledge. That was precisely why they had chosen me. Their plan was to funnel all of my family's good fortune into Sophia. My family was destroyed while her life flourished. The guaranteed spot in the graduate program that should have been mine was mysteriously given to her. My family went bankrupt, and hers won the lottery. My brother died, and soon after, her mother became pregnant with a second child. And my so-called boyfriend was aware of it all, knowing that this doll was the cause. He constantly encouraged me to be even kinder to it. The day my parents died was the day those two officially announced their relationship to the world. I watched as Sophia, dressed in a magnificent gown, stood beside a 2-meter-tall cake Leo had ordered for her. He knelt on one knee, holding a diamond ring, and proposed. And I was the fool, a clown they had played with, completely oblivious to the truth. He never even bothered to break up with me. He probably assumed I wouldn't be alive much longer. That's right. I didn't jump from that building of my own free will. It felt as though some unseen force was compelling me. My obsession and resentment were so profound that my spirit lingered, bound to them. Only then did I learn the truth about the luck-stealing doll. At that thought, a vicious glint flashed in my eyes. I looked up at Leo, my eyes crinkling into a smile. Since this doll is a token of your affection and so expensive, I will definitely take care of her as if she were my own daughter. Hearing this, Leo nodded eagerly. Yes, 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 Ilara. That's exactly what I mean. Treat her like our daughter, like she's our first child. Our first child. The words were so disgusting I felt sick. But I knew I couldn't let my true feelings show. Before I could say anything else, Leo pulled a set of doll clothes and a jewelry set from another bag. He excitedly laid them out in front of me. Alara, since we're raising her like our child, let's get her dressed up now. I recognized this for what it was, a compliance test. In my past life, this was the only outfit he ever bought for the doll. Everything else was purchased with my money, because only items bought with my money and used on the doll could complete the transfer of luck. Leo carefully dressed the doll, his movements gentle and precise, as if he were afraid of hurting it. When his hand brushed against the doll's body, his ears turned a faint red. I knew from years of being with him that this was a sign of his arousal. Looking at the doll, then back at him, my stomach churned. He was actually picturing this doll as Sophia. The thought made the man in front of me seem not just malicious, but utterly vile. Finally, after his meticulous styling, the doll looked even more charming. I looked at it, then an idea to mess with him came to mind. I pretended to study the doll, a thoughtful frown on my face. Leo immediately noticed. Alara, why are you looking at the doll like that? Is something wrong? I feigned confusion. Huh. You know, I feel like this doll looks so much like someone. The moment the words left my mouth, I felt his entire body go rigid. To hide his panic, he forced a laugh. Ha ha, that's not strange. Dolls are supposed to look like people. What else would they look like? Really? Of course. Seeing him try so hard to cover his tracks made me feel a small spark of satisfaction. I took the doll from his hands and said against my will, "She's so beautiful." But in his blind spot, I dug my nails deep into the doll's lower back. Leo thought I had truly accepted the doll and finally voiced his core instruction. Alara, from now on, you're the doll's mother, and I'm the doll's father. You have to be good to our daughter. I'll be doing spot checks, you know. I gave him a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Of course. I guarantee I'll treat her better than I would my own child. After Leo left, I immediately found a pair of scissors and cut the doll's clothes to shreds, then tossed it into a bucket of dirty water. A daughter? Get real. From now on, you answer to me. 2 days later, Leo rushed over to my apartment, storming in the moment I opened the door. Alara, what did you do to the doll? He demanded. I put on a look of pure confusion. The doll is fine. But he couldn't be bothered with my excuses. He pushed past me and went straight to my bedroom to find Sophia's effigy. It wasn't until he saw the meticulously dressed doll, a high-quality fake I'd had made, sitting safely on the headboard that he let out a quiet sigh of relief. When he came to his senses, he seemed to realize his reaction had been a bit extreme. I just stood by the door, watching him quietly. He slowly turned around and looked at me, his expression awkward. He rushed over, feigning concern. Alara, I'm so sorry about just now. I was too emotional. I've been having nightmares these past 2 days, dreaming that our doll was being tortured. That's why I lost my composure. I didn't mean to act that way. I walked past him and said sarcastically, I had no idea this doll was more important to you than I am. Leo was clearly taken aback by my words. He muttered under his breath, Of course she's more important than you. This is Sophia's effigy. Then a wave of confusion crossed his face. Why isn't anything bad happening to Alara? Instead, Sophia has been complaining that she feels sore all over, like she's been beaten up. As he was trying to figure it out, his gaze fell on the doll's clothes. He noticed it was still wearing the outfit he had bought for it. I hadn't spent any money on the doll yet. His face instantly turned cold. But remembering he still needed me to provide for the doll, he had no choice but to swallow his anger. He put on a regretful look and came to my side. Alara, please forgive me this one time. I was just anxious because I really do see this doll as our child. I'm already in character, but you're not paying enough attention to our daughter. He picked up the doll. Look, the doll's clothes haven't been changed in 2 days. I replied, exasperated. Do dolls need their clothes changed every day? To my surprise, my words made him extremely agitated. Alara, how can you say that? If we're raising it like a child, we have to treat it like it's alive. What child doesn't get their clothes changed every day? A living child, sure. But this luck-stealing doll deserved to be torn to shreds. To keep him from getting suspicious, I put on a pouty voice. All right. I already bought her a bunch of clothes. I just hadn't gotten around to changing her yet before you burst in. With that, I laid out 4 outfits, red, green, yellow, and blue, in front of him. See? Which color do you think looks best? Let's change her now. Seeing the row of clothes on the table, Leo finally relaxed. It seemed he had been worrying for nothing. As long as he could coax me into changing the doll's clothes, the luck transfer ritual would be complete. At that thought, he became excited. Then let's hurry up and change her, Alara. With our daughter's looks, she'll look good in any color. He was still so confident in Sophia's appearance. I played along, helping him dress the doll. He grinned, looking incredibly smug. Just then, his phone rang. When he answered, the smile on his face instantly froze. He looked at me with wide, disbelieving eyes. How is that possible? How did you get hurt? But, he lowered his voice, glanced at me guiltily, and quickly walked over to the door. Okay, don't worry. I'm on my way. After hanging up, he turned to me anxiously. Elara, a friend of mine is in trouble. I have to go to the hospital. I immediately grabbed his arm. Is it serious? Should I go with you? He hesitated, but then his eyes fell on the nearby doll, and he could only nod. Okay. At the hospital, Sophia was lying weakly in bed. The doctor said she had a broken leg. The moment she saw me, she was flustered, clearly not expecting me to come with Leo. I watched them exchange nervous glances. They were both wondering why the luck-stealing doll hadn't worked as planned. Just then, my phone rang. I answered it right in front of them. My voice filled with panic, and tears started to well up in my eyes. What? How could this happen? Are you sure you didn't make a mistake? Seeing my expression, Leo and Sophia exchanged another look, a triumphant glint flashing in both their eyes. After hanging up, I slumped onto the edge of the hospital bed in defeat, the movement a bit too forceful, making Sophia wince in pain. But they couldn't be bothered with that. Leo immediately asked, Elara, did something happen? My eyes were red as I choked out, Leo, my guaranteed spot in the grad program, well, it's gone. I worked for 3 years for that spot. I covered my face and started to sob, afraid I wouldn't be able to keep up the act otherwise. Through the gaps in my fingers, I saw the two of them share a smile. Go ahead and laugh. Laugh while you still can. Leo struggled to suppress his grin, feigning concern as he tried to comfort me. It's okay, Elara. We'll just try again next time. There wouldn't be a next time, but I kept up my devastated act. There is no next time. I glanced at Sophia. She flinched under my gaze before my eyes moved back to Leo. Okay, I need some space. You can stay here and take care of your friend. Without waiting for a response, I walked out. The second the door closed, I heard them exclaim and high-five. Leo's voice rang out. Sophia, did you hear that? Elara's bad luck is starting. Your good luck is about to begin. But Sophia sounded worried. Leo, even if she's having bad luck, it's not like I'm having any good luck either. What's the rush? This is just the beginning. I'll make sure all of Elara's luck gets transferred to you. Listening to them, a smirk curved my lips. Is that so? We'll just have to wait and see. Just as I reached the door of my apartment, a tall figure blocked my path. Everywhere I moved, he moved. Finally, I lost my patience. Excuse me, sir. But the man didn't budge. Staring up at him, a full head taller than me, my heart began to race and I balled my fists. The man just patted my head. Hey, short stuff, you don't recognize me? I finally looked up and saw a devilishly handsome face, a look of confusion on my own. The man was not pleased. Short stuff, it's me, Julian, the older kid from next door to your grandma's house. I was stunned and blurted out, the chubby kid? He smacked me on the forehead again. No manners, call me by my name. I rolled my eyes, speechless. What was he doing here? We hadn't seen each other since we were 12. My mom had said his family was into some unusual things, that they'd studied mystical arts for generations. A lot of things in the neighborhood that science couldn't explain were brought to his family to solve. I didn't believe it before, but after being reborn, I was more cautious. But Julian ignored my defensive posture and casually threw an arm around my shoulder. Don't just stand there. Open the door. I had no choice but to let him in. He made himself right at home. The moment we stepped inside, his eyes fixated on the fake doll on the sofa. Before I could react, he strode over, picked it up, examined it, and chuckled. Well, Elara, you're into dolls now. To be honest, I felt a little guilty. I wasn't sure if this guy had inherited his family's talents. Just as I was about to brush it off, his eyes narrowed and he stared directly at my safe. Alarm bells went off in my head. The real effigy of Sophia was in the safe, and it was missing a leg. I didn't know if Julian was a friend or foe. Just as I was trying to come up with an excuse to get rid of him, he suddenly went back to his normal, carefree self, fiddling with the doll clothes on the table. So your mom said it was okay for me to crash here for a while. I'm in town for some business. No. The word slipped out before I could think. Julian just threw his hands up as if he expected it. He immediately called my mom, and I have no idea what he said, but she basically ordered me to let him stay. I had no choice but to comply. But late at night, I would still sneak out Sophia's real effigy and torture it. Until one night, as I was pouring dirty water on the doll, Julian appeared behind me without a sound. You hate this doll that much? I screamed, startled, then quickly composed myself. So what if I hate it? It's my doll. I can do whatever I want with it. I thought he would scold me for being cruel, but he just stared at the broken doll and gave a wicked smile. Things you don't like should just disappear. I stared at him in shock. He leaned down to look me in the eye. What's wrong? Surprised? You don't think I'm cruel? He let out a self-deprecating laugh. For every action, there is a reaction. This isn't cruelty. At most, it's just the cycle of karma, a well-deserved retribution. I swallowed hard. It felt like this guy knew everything. A week later, Leo came looking for me, furious. Alara, have you been taking care of that doll or not? Seeing him so worked up, I felt a surge of delight. I feigned confusion. What's wrong? I've been taking great care of it. I pulled him over to see the fake doll on the sofa. Look, not only have I changed its clothes, but I've also bought it lots of trendy jewelry. Look how dazzling our daughter is. I deliberately emphasized the word daughter. Seeing the perfect-looking doll, Leo's anger dissipated. He just kept muttering, "Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it." It turned out that over the past few days, Sophia's leg had gotten worse and was now gangrenous. The doctors were saying it had to be amputated. And today, her family had called to say her father had accidentally put her mother in the hospital. Sophia couldn't handle the chain of disasters and sent Leo to find me. You can't handle it this early? In my last life, my family lost 4 people. Watching the bewildered Leo, a wicked idea popped into my head. I suppressed my disgust and grabbed his hand, whining coquettishly. Leo, I know you're worried about the doll. You must think our daughter is too lonely. Why don't you buy a boy doll? Then we'll have a son and a daughter. Leo's eyes lit up. That's right. If Sophia can have a luck-siphoning doll, so can I. It's all at the expense of Alara's family's luck anyway. He thought to himself, could it be that one doll is working too slowly? At that thought, Leo stood up. Yes, Alara, you're so thoughtful. I'll go buy a boy doll right now. Watching him leave, my eyes felt like they were filled with ice. I was dying to see which master came up with such a malicious scheme for them. I secretly followed Leo to a rundown temple in the mountains. Before long, I saw a masked figure holding a doll, giving him a stream of instructions. I wanted to get closer to see the person's face when a hand clamped over my mouth from behind. I panicked, but saw it was Julian. He put a finger to my lips, signaling me to be quiet. It wasn't until the masked figure went back into the temple that I dared to breathe again. Julian, what are you doing here? He brushed the dust off his clothes. If you can be here, why can't I? Besides, I'm here on official business. What are you doing here? I was at a loss for words. Seeing my predicament, his lips curved into a smile. All right, I calculated that this place has a deep, dark energy. Someone was up to no good, so I came to investigate. Hearing him say that made me even more wary. So he had learned all of his family's skills. Did that mean he knew about the doll in my apartment? If he knew, why hadn't he told me? But then again, we were just childhood playmates. There was no obligation for him to help. Just then, my phone rang. The caller ID showed Leo. He was certainly impatient. Truthfully, I was even more anxious than he was. As much as I enjoyed torturing Sophia's effigy, I was far more excited to get my hands on Leo's. In my past life, I learned after I died that his family played a significant role in my family's bankruptcy. They deliberately delayed payments and cut off our supply chain, using my family as a stepping stone. I wasn't even home yet when Leo had already called me twice to hurry up. When I got to my door, I saw him waiting there, holding his own effigy doll. Alara, look. Doesn't this doll look just like me? This was incredibly hard to get. This is all for you. Once I opened the door, he made a beeline for Sophia's doll and placed his doll next to hers. They're a perfect match, he said, his eyes full of admiration. I smiled sweetly. Absolutely perfect. He pulled me by the hand to sit down. Elara, I'm entrusting both of these dolls to you. You can't play favorites. You have to treat them both the same. I looked him in the eye. I'm just curious, if we ever break up, would you want the girl doll or the boy doll? Leo froze, his face darkening. Elara, what are you talking about? We're never going to break up. Right, we won't break up. You were just waiting for me to die. Hatred grew wildly inside me. I dug my fingernails into my palms to force myself to calm down. I put on a playful act. I'm just teasing you. Leo finally managed to smile. Well then, let's go buy some things for the dolls now. Okay. But before we reached the mall, he got a call from the hospital and had to leave. As he left, he didn't forget to remind me to buy new clothes for the dolls. I said yes, but the moment he was gone, I went straight home. I grabbed a pair of scissors and stabbed them right into the lower half of Leo's effigy doll. Tisk, tisk. That's a rather delicate spot you chose. A sudden voice made me jump. I turned around. Who else could it be but Julian? I said irritably, "You're like a ghost sneaking around." He pouted. You were the one so focused on stabbing the doll. Now you're blaming me. I kicked Leo's doll several feet away in a fit of pique. Well, sorry then. It's the doll's fault. Julian gave the doll a deep look, then picked it up. He casually stuck a paper charm to its forehead. I yelled, "What are you doing?" He explained calmly, "It's nothing. This is a pain amplification charm. It means for every 1 bit of pain the doll feels, he'll feel 10. The hand that was about to rip off the charm froze. I still said stubbornly, "I don't know what you're talking about." Just then, the hospital called to tell me something had happened to Leo. When we arrived, we could hear his pig-like squeals of pain. According to the nurses, Sophia's father, who had massive gambling debts, came to demand money. Her mother was also in the hospital racking up bills, and Sophia herself had no money. When her father heard there was none, he caused a scene, dragging her from the bed and beating her. This was the scene Leo walked in on. He went straight for her father, but he was no match. The man sent him flying with a single kick, right between the legs. And with all the commotion, Sophia's leg had gotten much worse. It had to be amputated. She couldn't accept this and fainted. Her father was taken away by the police. Hearing this string of good news, I couldn't control the smile on my face. When I turned my head, I saw a faint, knowing smile playing on Julian's lips as well. I wanted to retort, "Your boyfriend," but remembered he technically was my boyfriend. To save his life, I authorized the doctors to remove his family jewels. And to make sure this wretched pair got a taste of my despair, I had them put in the same hospital room. One without a leg, the other without his... Well, the room was filled with screams, a symphony of a female soprano and a male tenor. To my ears, it was heavenly music. Leo was ripping the blanket off and pulling it back on, unable to accept that he had become a eunuch. On the other side, Sophia was crying, "My leg! My leg!" I pushed the door open. The moment Leo saw me, he stumbled towards me. "Elara, tell me what happened to me." "You don't know. You're a eunuch." I avoided his gaze and choked out, "Leo, it was to save your life." "No, no," he screamed, clutching his head. Then he frantically begged, "The dolls! What about the 2 dolls?" I feigned confusion. "The dolls, they're fine. They're at my place." Hearing the word dolls, Sophia snapped to attention, her eyes like poisoned daggers. "What did you do to the dolls?" I looked from her to Leo. "What could I do? I dressed them in nice things, decked them out in gold and silver." Sophia shrieked, "I don't believe you. You were supposed to be the one bearing all of this. That doll was supposed to..." Slap. The sound echoed. Leo had slapped her. "Shut up!" Before she could say another word, he grabbed my hand and pleaded, "Elara, I miss our daughter and son. Can you bring the 2 dolls to the hospital?" He didn't trust me. I readily agreed. They were just 2 fakes. When I brought them, Leo frantically inspected every inch. Finding them perfect, he simply couldn't understand why he and Sophia had ended up like this. Suddenly, Sophia answered a phone call, let out a scream, and fainted. Before Leo could check on her, his own phone rang. After the call, he collapsed. It was his mother, his family was bankrupt, and they owed money to loan sharks. His father had run away. Sophia's call had been from the hospital. Her mother had passed away. Leo clutched the doll, unable to believe any of this was real. Suddenly, he shot up, grabbing my arm, his eyes filled with madness. "Quick, call your parents. See if anything has happened to your family." I shoved him off. "Leo, what is your problem? Just because your family is in trouble, you're hoping mine is too? We're done. Let's break up." He looked incredulous. "You want to break up with me? Why haven't you had any bad luck yet?" No, something has to be wrong. He seemed to remember something. "Didn't you fail to get into the grad program?" I waved my hand dismissively. So I failed. I applied to study abroad instead. I had intentionally given up the spot to mislead them. That was the final straw. He ignored the doctors and insisted on taking Sophia to the rundown temple. What they didn't know was that Julian was performing a ritual to burn the two real luck-stealing dolls. Unsurprisingly, they got into a car accident on the way and both perished in the fiery crash. In a way, it was revenge for my parents. I thought things were over, but Julian took me to that rundown temple. He told me that as he was making the dolls disappear, the person who performed the spell would suffer a backlash. I was curious about the identity of this masked person. When we arrived, the smell of blood hung in the air. A woman was on the ground, vomiting blood. I walked closer and saw her face. I gasped. "Aunt Carol." When she saw me, her eyes filled with resentment. "I never thought you'd be so much smarter than your mother." At this point, what was left to not understand? This woman was behind everything, my mother's best friend. "Aunt Carol, why? My mother was so good to you." Good to me? That was charity. I was always smarter and prettier than her, so why did she get to marry so well while I married an abusive man? I refused to accept it. Suddenly her gaze fell on Julian. She pointed at him, full of grief. "It was a perfect plan. It was you. Because of you." With that, she stopped breathing. Julian just said, "Those who live by wickedness will die by wickedness." My gaze fell on him, and I asked the question I'd been wanting to ask. "In my past life, why didn't you show up?" My question made his eyes turn red. He tried to hug me, but I dodged. Besides my rebirth, the only variable was Julian. Seeing me so guarded, he said in a low voice, "I'm sorry. I was too late." Much later, I overheard a conversation between Julian and his grandfather. "Was it worth it? Using half of your own life to break that girl's deadly fate and give her a second chance?" Julian replied calmly, "It was. My rebirth wasn't an act of mercy from the heavens, but an exchange Julian had made. I couldn't understand why a simple childhood friendship would compel him to do so much. Later, he put his arm around my shoulder and said, 'It was love at first sight. I couldn't help it. I had a fatal destiny, and I was his destiny.' He did appear in my past life, but only after I'd already jumped. He said he was too late, and I don't blame him. After that, I was the one shamelessly chasing him, but he just wouldn't agree. He had one line: 'My life may not be long. I don't want to hold you back.' Eventually, I had to threaten to kill myself before he finally gave in. Who cares how long? What's most important is cherishing every day we have now. Even if he sacrificed half his lifespan, if he was meant to live to 180, that's still 90 years. I missed my chance in my last life. In this one, I don't care about any of that. Julian, you're mine."